this is May and welcome back to my channel for a brand new speed build. So today I am building a modern penthouse for the one and only Penny Pizzazz in the world of San Myshuno for my save file. I've been mostly focusing on the base game world and making new builds and making over the sims there, but lately I've just been itching to start doing some changes to the other worlds we find in the Sims 4 as well. And Penny Pizzazz was a sim that stood out to me, someone who I felt like needed a big upgrade. So if you're familiar with the City Living pack and San Myshuno, then you might have seen Penny around before as a townie. And you might know that she lives in a rather small apartment in the fashion district, is it? It's this apartment building with 3 small apartments at least, and even though I moved Penny away from there, her apartment is still one of my favorite apartments to renovate in all of San Myshuno actually. It's small and relatively easy to renovate and make a floor plan for, plus the wall height is short. What I find kind of restricting with a lot of the city living apartments is that majority of them have medium or taller wall heights, and that's not my favorite thing in the game. Like, what am I going to do with all of that wall space? So more often than not, I choose the short walls when I build. It's just easier to decorate, and as some of you might know, decorating can be a bit difficult for me sometimes, but today I feel like I really went outside of my comfort zone in terms of colors, patterns, and all, so do stay tuned for the interior of this penthouse. So I decided to move Penny over to the arts quarter and the Fountainview penthouse lot, as you can see here. That way I could choose what wall height to use. But yeah, I'm currently working on the shape of the building. I didn't restrict myself trying to make it go seamlessly with what's already there, like the actual apartment building below this, but I tried to use a lot of similar colors, at least like white, browns, and blacks. And the penthouse will be more modern than the rest of this brick building, I'd have to say. I was initially thinking of making Penny's penthouse more industrial looking to make it fit more with the building and all, but I tried and I didn't really end up with anything that I quite liked, so I ended up bulldozing that one, and a few days later I tried again after finding an inspiration photo on Google, I do believe, which I will show you here, and that sort of sparked the idea of this whole penthouse. It will have a similar shape in the front here with kind of like a covered patio or balcony area, and the rest was just my imagination, really just trying to expand on what I got from the photo, like make something that worked, and I think I succeeded with that. As I just mentioned, there will be a covered patio or balcony area on 2 sides of the penthouse, both fenced in for security reasons, which doesn't technically matter in The Sims 4, but sometimes you just think realistically when making a house or build in the game. So I felt like I had to fence in those areas with this simple glass fence because this is pretty high up in the air. And the first balcony here will get a barbecue area with a grill, bar, and a pizza oven, among other things. You can dine out here on this long table, and you will be able to jump into the hot tub and watch some TV or have some drinks. I felt like these were such natural things to add to such a build like this, like a rather expensive looking penthouse where you probably host parties or bring some friends over to. And by now you might be wondering, how can Penny Pizzazz afford such a place like this? Because as I mentioned, she used to live in this small apartment, so since this is a save file project where I make new sims, I make over the pre-existing sims, and I build new houses and all, sometimes I do come up with new careers and storylines for the pre-existing sims in the worlds. And the reason why I do this is mostly just to freshen up things. Would it truly be a save file renovation if I didn't fresh up some things? Probably not. I'm not just focusing on doing new builds after all, and another reason is that I have very small restrictions in terms of what Sims 4 packs I use for the save file, so I have a lot more careers, gameplay features to take advantage of, so I'm not using any kits or the Journey 2x2 pack in this save file. Other than that, I felt free to use whatever really. I will not be waiting until I've renovated all the worlds to release the first version of the save file, of course, Since I've been meaning to focus on the base game worlds, I will release the first iteration of the save file somewhere around the time I've managed to do majority of the base game lots and sims. And I've already given makeovers to pretty much every base game townie, and I made lots of new sims myself, so what's left is the lots really, whether it be residential or community lots. I have at least noted down lots of ideas for the new save file, so I just need to continue powering through and doing my best. And I hope you've all been enjoying seeing the save file speed builds so far, and also like listening to me talk about the builds that I've done and talking about the storyline and the sims, of course. There's at least a playlist of all those videos posted so far, so if you're interested in seeing the progress, make sure to check out that after this video. And yeah, I've just been aching to do things outside of the base game world, so that's why we're here in San Myshuno today. I've also been doing a few things in Delcel Valley, Windenburg, and Brindleton Bay lately. For example, I've started Judith Ward's mansion, and I've done a few makeovers for the Windenburg townies, which I've been enjoying doing a lot. And I think Cass, create a sim that is really fun to do. I think one of those people who enjoy pretty much all of the aspects of The Sims 4, whether it be building, cast, and gameplay. I have to say I used to do a lot more gameplay back in the day before I got bitten by the building bug, but I still occasionally enjoy doing some gameplay. So creating my own save file with sims, builds, and stories is just tons of fun, to be honest. And if one day I'm not feeling like building, then I can just jump on over to cast instead and do some makeovers or like create new sims. And so when it comes to Penny Pizzazz, I feel like she's always needed something more. You know, I wouldn't say The Sims did her dirty per se, but seeing as she's so trendy and she has a high level in her career, her apartment, for example, is maybe a bit lackluster. Not that it's wrong to live small. Heck, I would love to live in a tiny home if I could, or a small apartment. But after all, she is one of my favorite sims in San Myshuno, so making her over and coming up with an altered storyline for her was fun to do. So Penny is an internet personality in the default save file. This is part of the social media career that comes with the City Living pack. And despite her being at such a high level in that career, I wanted a shift for her because I feel like the internet personality job generally focuses a lot on the video gaming aspect and maybe not so much on the social media aspect. Like after a while you need, for example, 100k followers, and the easiest way to get that is by streaming on the computer, if I'm not totally mistaken. Like honestly, it's been a while since I played with that career, but the point is that I didn't really get that whole video gaming vibe from Penny. I think the social media manager branch could have fit better for her, or is it like social media relations? Yeah, the other branch at least in that career. So I think that would have fit her better. But yeah, so I decided to move her over to the style influencer career, which is actually in base game, and then I just cheated her way up to level 7, I do believe, in the trendsetter branch. I've always imagined Penny to be such a trendy and fashionable sim, so it felt kind of right to make her into a stylist. And not only that, but since I am using Get Famous, I can make sims celebrities. So I decided to turn Penny into a celebrity. I can't remember exactly which level I made her, but I think it was at least level 2 or 3. So not the biggest celebrity yet, but she certainly has a dream of becoming a more famous face and excel at her job. And now that I've mentioned the Get Famous pack, I think that one and City Living go well together. I almost feel like the social media career was supposed to be in Get Famous because it makes sense with the whole celebrity system and all that, even though Get Famous was released around 2 years later than City Living. And wouldn't it have been amazing if we got apartments in Get Famous as well? The whole vibe of Delcel Valley would have fit that, I think, and honestly that world should have been bigger in my opinion. But anyway, because of Penny's stylist influencer career, I'm making her a fashion studio or stylist studio. I'm not totally sure what to call it, but there is one of those in this penthouse. There was so much space to work with in this penthouse, so I really had to think of what to do with all the rooms. And yeah, I'm glad I thought of the stylist studio. It won't be the biggest room ever, but she will have all the necessities for work, such as the big cork board you can use for the career. There is the sketch pad and stylist a chair from the Get Famous pack. And like technically the last one isn't part of the career because like I said, the stylist influencer job is from base game, but there's just some things from Get Famous that work really well with that job, like the makeover chair, and there's also this like podium you can use to change someone's outfit with. So I included all those things, as you will see later in the video. I also did a little makeover for Penny myself, which I will show you a picture of on the screen right now, just so I don't forget. I've tried to make her look trendy and fashionable and still keep some like pops of color in her outfits, just like I'll be doing for the rooms in the penthouse. There's like a new color scheme for pretty much all the rooms, I feel like. And I found this build to be quite the nice challenge for me in that sense, since I feel like I usually use a lot of the same colors and wallpapers throughout my houses, but not for this one. And going back to Penny's makeover, since Lovestruck is such a new pack still, I've been wanting to use a lot of those items. I gave Penny here a nice shorter hairstyle, the one from Lovestruck, of course, with the gem hair clips, which I think is really nice. She does look different from how she usually does, but I hope you like how she ended up looking either way. I know that a lot of the townies in this game are usually very colorful and cartoonish looking almost, so I've been trying to tune that down a bit. And the earlier packs aren't my favorites when it comes to like create a sim, like clothing and hairs and all. So the more recent packs have certainly come in handy for me when I've been doing the makeovers. Some of the cast kits also have great items, but like I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm not going to be using any kits in this save file, and I think I'm totally okay with that, to be honest. We have so many other packs to use, so it's all good. And also, usually, or at least before, when I've been in casts for gameplay purposes and such, I've used a lot of CC, short for custom content, that you can download online and put in your game to have extra items to play around with. But ever since starting this save file and doing the makeovers, I've gotten to appreciate more of the cast items from the packs. So yeah, I've been wanting to cut back on some of my CC, and it wasn't that long ago that I just fired up the Sims 4 mod manager and went through all of my cast CC and got rid of like a few gigabytes, I think, which honestly feels great. So if you use mods and CC, I would totally recommend to go through your custom content once in a while and get rid of some things, and maybe even get rid of it all and start over again. Starting fresh is honestly underrated, no matter what, really. I think it's good for the mind. So as you can see, I have started working on the inside of the penthouse now. I have laid out the floor plan. There will be a few adjustments on the second floor. I don't remember if I've already done it or you will see it later in the video, but I decided to do a few changes in regards of the main bedroom. I gave Penny a spacious ensuite and also walk-in closet just to, you know, spoil her a bit, I guess. I think it works well in a penthouse or bigger house just to use more of the space, but we haven't gotten quite that far yet. I'm only starting on the interior, and the first room I wanted to do was the kitchen. I think 90% of the time I start with the kitchens in my houses once I get to do the interior part. I just love kitchens, so it felt natural to start with that here as well. And we're going for a quite dark kitchen. The whole house is kind of dark in that sense, like in terms of colors. I used this beautiful dark wood flooring from Eco Lifestyle, which is honestly one of my favorite floors to use in this game. And I also used dark tiles in all the bathrooms. So we're continuing with some of those darker colors in the kitchen. I used a very modern looking Home Chef Hustle Kitchen said it works really well here, and I love the light feature that comes with the overhead cabinets. Probably my biggest criticism of this set is definitely the corner pieces of the cabinets. So if you don't know, the corner pieces are these shelves with different clutter on them, and it doesn't really work with the rest of the cabinets, like the variations of them. And not to mention the shadows don't look quite right either, unfortunately. So instead of using that corner piece, I always just smoosh like two regular cabinets into each other in the corner using the BB Move Objects on sheet, of course. And it is a bit glitchy, like you can see the two cabinets glitch, but it's not that distracting in my opinion, so I usually just run with it. And yeah, I put in the coffee machines from Get Together in here, since I imagine she would love to have some in the morning and perhaps throughout the day too. And since this room is quite spacious, I fit in a quite large island here as well, so you can sit and eat there in the mornings, for example, or just have people join you for cooking and maybe just having some conversations. And I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but there is going to be a pool on this lot. You can see it outside the windows in the kitchen here. There was this area in the back there that I wasn't too sure what to do about, so I just played around with it for a moment, and I decided having a pool there wasn't the worst idea. So there will also be a space for doing some yoga outside as well as dancing. I made some of these one-tile columns or support beams or whatever you would like to call them outside a few places. And in between there, I put a bar and some counters next to the dance floor out on the balcony. So that's about it for the other balcony space, I do believe. And moving on with the inside again, next to the kitchen, there is going to be a dining room. It's not going to be a big room per se. We just have a big dining table and lots of chairs. And I used this nice table from the City Living pack, the one that has glass running through the middle of it, and I thought it would be a fun touch to add some color to the chairs. So there is this lime green color on the seat of those chairs, and I will do a few changes to that room later. And also next to the dining room, there is going to be the living room. I have to admit the living room didn't turn out the biggest. It's just a little space to enjoy some TV or get cozy around the fireplace. But I did play around a bit with the layout of the living room, as you might have seen already. The initial placement of the TV and fireplace didn't really look that good to me, so I decided to move those over to the other wall facing the dining room, and then I just continued from there really. I used the Moschino sofas here. I really love how those, like this one looks, and it has some more colorful bold swatches as well, but I just went with the plain black here. And I used 3 of those sofas, and I tried to sort of like blend them together and make it seem like they were part of a sectional sofa, if that makes sense. I wasn't fully able to make it seamless. I had to put 2 of the sofas into each other, like I did with the cabinets earlier. So there was a bit of glitching there, and to try and save it, I raised up a small coffee table to try and cover that glitchy part. It did help a bit, and the sofas are still functional actually, even though your sim might want to sit inside the end table a bit. But regardless, I made it work, and I used some of those marble end tables from Dine in the back there again, so you can put some clutter there. I feel like I didn't clutter up this space too much. I just added some things here and there for the marble tables, some on the shelves behind one of the sofas, and along with the box shelves next to the fireplace. I also just have to mention that these armchairs from the Lovestruck pack are amazing. I've used them quite a bit already in my builds. I love the trendy modern look to them. And next to them I sneaked in a big standing lamp. And the color scheme changed a few times throughout me doing this living room, but I eventually ended up with this dark blue and beige color scheme, which I really do love. We are jumping up to the second floor here, where I'm doing the area I talked about earlier, the main bedroom, the walk-in closet, and ensuite, or main bedroom really. Another thing I've been obsessed with using from the Lovestruck pack is this glass sliding door that is perfect to use for bathrooms. So I've been doing a lot of these separated shower areas using this door, and in this ensuite I even managed to fit in 2 doors and double showers. We'll have a bathtub in here tucked into a nook and a spacious area for counters and a sink. In between the showers there I will raise a small diagonal platform so you can store your soaps and shampoos there. So you don't need to take it in and out from the shower every time, but you can just leave them there, realistically speaking at least. And I think it looks good, it flows well. But yeah, you don't really need to think about those things in The Sims 4, but it's a nice detail, I think, regardless. And to finish this off, I'm putting in some towels on the walls, a fuzzy rug on the floor, this white mirror next to the sink, and just some clutter on the counters and these like big curtains from the movie Hangout stuff, I think it is. A lot of the swatches on those are quite colorful and bold, but I love the neutral swatches of that one. So I go for some black curtains in here, and I will reuse them in a couple of the other rooms as well. And overall, the bathrooms are all quite black and white and similar, I would have to say, so those aren't necessarily the most colorful rooms in the penthouse here, but there will be other more colorful rooms for sure. And next to the bathroom there is going to be a walk-in closet for Penny. As mentioned, she is a stylist influencer, and I would imagine her to have lots of clothing that needs sufficient storage. I love using these big wardrobes from the Get Together pack. They're such a must, and I honestly wish we had more of them. It's kind of odd that we don't, to be honest. They could have easily been added to other packs than just to Get Together one. But yeah, we have those in here, and then I just place out lots of different shelves, dressers, and other storage space using the Dream Home Decorator pack. I love that pack and how customizable it is, like the shelves just snap together and you can create so many different units and like layouts with them. So I made sure to use that pack here in the walk-in closet. There are going to be big mirrors on the wall. There will be this bold green rug on the floor as just like a splash of color in here. And I put in lots of shoes in the open shelves. And another thing I love about Dream Home Decorator is that it introduced us to the hanging clothes that you can put into the shelves here or units. I'm not too sure what to call that either. But we have gotten a few different hanging clothes after this pack and I love it. And other than that, I think I just add in a few clutter items like some makeup, the jewelry box from Crystal Creations, which I adore, and there's just like a chair in the corner here if you want to sit down and put on your shoes, for example. And speaking of Crystal Creations, I love using those jewelry boxes in wardrobe spaces like this one. And I can't say I played too much around with the Crystal Creations pack for the sake of gameplay. Some of those build and buy items are really nice. I'd say most of the items fit into more like Victorian, Gothic, and generally older looking builds. So I remember I used many of the Crystal Creations items in the Goth's family house, for example. And I can't wait to use more of those items in other builds in the future, especially for like maybe Victorian houses in Strangerville on top of the mountain side there, if you're familiar with that world. Or maybe the more gothic houses you can find in Forgotten Hollow. I'm just like overall really excited to renovate all the worlds, to be honest, even though there's many styles I don't really do that often. So there's going to be lots of challenges along the way until I finish this save file, that's for sure. And meanwhile, I've been blabbering on. You have seen the Stylist studio that I was talking about earlier on in the video, where I put in more of those get-together wardrobes because again we need more space for all the clothing that Penny has gotten her hands on. I thought it would be so much fun to add in one of the Lovestruck animal print wallpapers as accent walls here, just to add a little spice to the whole area. And at the same time we have a pop of color from the Lovestruck chairs around the, I'm gonna call it like a working table here where you have like a laptop, some magazines, and I just love that red, almost like burgundy color on those chairs. There's going to be lots of open shelves with clutter, maybe some books about fashion, some makeup things, jewelry, some awards as well. She probably has gotten some of those throughout her career, and just like other knickknacks really. And we do have the Stylist chair and the Stylist podium in here from the Get Famous pack, which works incredibly well with the Stylist influencer career. As for Penny's own main bedroom, I struggle a bit with what colors to use and what bed to use in the beginning, but then I eventually settle on this beautiful seated living bed that has a canopy. The bed has this really nice green blue color on the sheets, and before I ended up with this bed, I had found this big rug with a very similar blue-green color along with this like mustard or gold color. So that rug sort of started the whole color scheme of this bedroom, and I found a perfect accent wall color that fits so nicely with the rug and bed. And then I just added in some sort of art and clutter that complemented the rest of the room. The bedroom here isn't the most cluttered room. I just made sure to add a desk and computer so that Penny could get a nice view outside if she wanted to work in her bedroom, but she's also going to have a separate room as an office space. But before that, I made one of the smaller rooms into a fitness room. I imagine Penny would take good care of herself and work out regularly. So there as well, I used some of the new Lovestruck workout equipment, which I really like. The simple yet modern look of. I wasn't able to fit in the weight machine, so I settled on the treadmill and a yoga mat from Spa Day. I also love the decoration item that has all the dumbbells on them. I really wish that would have been like an actual functional activity our Sims could do, like use the dumbbells to work out with. And I really do think we're long overdue for more fitness activities as well as more activities for kids to do really. We did get the hopscotch and marbles in for rent that kids can use, but a little bit too late when we already have so many variations of the drawing or arts and crafts table, for example. I just don't understand why we have so many of that object in the game. I feel like they could have spent that time on making new activity objects instead, in my opinion. So yeah, I just wish we had more activities to do in The Sims 4, and I think a lot of you agree on that one. For example, for fitness, it would have been so nice to have an exercise bike, you know, one of those that just stands on the ground and you bike on it. And The Sims 4 already has an animation for biking in the game if you have Discover University, or is it Equal Lifestyle has like a bike, and then Growing Together also. You could definitely use that animation for an exercise bike, for example. But anyway, I did have an extra large room in this penthouse and I decided to use it as a guest bedroom. I split up some of the space so they have their own bathroom as well as lots of wardrobe space. Because again, we can never have too much space for clothing apparently in this penthouse. And yeah, I love that color scheme I went for in this room, this more lighter brown color along with this nice darker blue from the bed and the paintings above the bed. There are some gold accents and blacks here and there. It's quite a simple bedroom, but it still looks fancy in my opinion. And last but not least, I did the office for Penny. I kind of struggle with the color scheme and layout for this one for a moment in the beginning, but once I figured it out, it turned out very pretty in my opinion. So you can see me go back and forth between different swatches and colors, but I ended up with some more of that animal print wallpaper, and then I complemented it with this painting on the wall that has all these pretty pinks and yellows that I matched the chairs with. So those chairs also will end up yellow, and overall a trendy and fun looking office that suits Penny, I think. But that's basically it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and a follow for more content in the future. If you want to be notified of when I upload a video next, make sure to click the bell icon too. This build is playtested and up on my gallery. My ID is honeymaysims, or you can find me with the hashtag honeymaysims as well. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me today as we made a penthouse for Penny Pizzazz, and I can't wait to talk to you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Bye. Bye!